Very excited to have our candidate for Chief Justice, Third Court of Appeals. She's back, and she'll be our next Chief Justice, Ms. Diane Henson.
I like to bring my props with me. Well, thank you, Williamson County. I just came from Bell County, and we had a great group of Democrats there. I drove up here and I said, my God, I can't find a place to park. Now, that's a Democratic convention that I like. Now, I feel like I'm just coming back to my old friends, but I know there's some new folks here, so let me introduce you to me. I'm Diane Henson. I'm running for Chief Justice of the Third Court of Appeals. And folks, that is one of the most powerful appellate courts in the entire state of Texas. It hears all your appeals from the trials in these 24 counties. And if you can't see it, we're all along I-35. We go way out to San Angelo, and it's a big area in central Texas. But what's unique about this court that makes it one of the most powerful courts is all state government appeals go through this court. So the judges on this court impact the entire state of Texas. Let me give you an example. When the utility companies want to raise the Houston ratepayers' electric bills by $1 billion, the appeal is heard by this court. When the oil companies want to change the fracking regulations, it's heard in this court. When insurance companies want to raise your homeowners' insurance rates by 25% in the state of Texas, the appeal will go to this court. When powerful politicians are charged with corruption like Tom DeLay, their appeal goes through this court. Now, is it surprising that the Republicans and powerful business and special interests would like to control this court? Well, right now they have 5 out of the 6 judges. And these are severe conservatives. These judges campaign at Tea Party events. They are Tea Party judges. We only have one last moderate, pragmatic, and of course, Democratic judge on the court, and that's Woody Jones. He's our Chief Justice, and he's retiring at the end of this term, and that's what we're fighting to try and keep that powerful seat. Now, all I can tell you is if all the judges are on the far right, you will never get to the middle. And it is so important to have a voice to bring them back to the middle. I know what a difference maker you can be as a judge because I served on this court for 6 years as your justice. You helped elect me in 2006 to a 6-year term. And as a result of that, I decided more than 2,000 cases. I wrote more than 700 opinions. I worked hard for you, and I made a difference. And in fact, even though I was in the minority, 4-2, 4 Republicans and 2 Democrats, I got the Republicans to agree with me 99% of the time. It's not an easy job, and it was a lot of hard work. The first thing I did when I got on that court was I rolled up my sleeves and I went to the Republican judges who were so far behind. They had years of pending cases they had not decided. And I said, can I help you? Can I write those opinions for you? And eventually, I got their confidence, and sure enough, I was able to convince them by reading the record, reading the law, and sitting there and just talking with them persuasively when they were sort of going off the rails, trying to bring them back to that center. You can make an impact. Now, I was up for re-election in 2012. That was a tough year to run as a Democrat in the state. I was the highest ranked judge in all the bar polls. I had the endorsement of the newspapers. I was even endorsed by the Texas Farm Bureau. The only Democrat, I think, ever in that year. But I just couldn't overcome the 23 counties that Mitt Romney won decidedly in this district out of the 24. We lost by less than 2 points. But 2014 is different. It's much more like 2006 when I ran and won. I believe with the momentum of this incredible ticket that we have, Wendy and Leticia, how good is that? I like running on a ticket with strong, smart, independent women who will roll up their and I think there's going to be plenty of Republican and independent women who maybe tell their husband they're going to vote for the other guy, but in the privacy of a poll, I believe they're going to be thinking about Wendy and Leticia. What do you think? What's exciting is for my race, which will impact the entire state, we don't have to win the margin that the statewide candidates have to do. We only have to get those 2 points back. Those 2 points. So we're going to be running up and down this I-35 corridor. I'm not going to spend much time in West Texas this time. We believe that the margin can be won in Bell and Williamson, and with the Travis County turnout, we can win. Now, I know there are people that are saying, you know, a judgeship, is that really? I mean, these other things are more sexy. Louis' race, John's race, they're more sexy. When you're talking to your friends, remind them about this court. Remind them when Michael Morton was convicted of murdering his wife and sentenced to a life sentence and was wasting his way, rotting away in that prison for 25 years. And the DNA testing, we've all watched CSI, it's now a lot better. And he wanted to have the evidence retested to prove his innocence. What did they say in DA's office in Williamson County? They said, no, we're not interested in justice. What did the local district court do? They weren't interested in testing. Mr. Morton's case came to this court when I was on it. And I was on that 3-judge panel that ordered the DNA testing of that evidence. It can matter for a life, it can matter for all of our lives. When the Republicans were trying to stymie the prosecution of Tom DeLay, they came up with a really interesting appellate opinion. They said you couldn't prosecute for money laundering checks. Yeah. Checks were not funds. Okay, how do you get paid? I get paid by a check. It goes into my account. It turns into funds. And by the way, my first job out of law school was as a young federal prosecutor in Washington, D.C. I worked in the same section with Eric Holder. We prosecuted corrupt politicians. I know something about money laundering. So I wrote a dissent, and I called them on their goofy logic. And sure enough, that case went up to the Court of Criminal Appeals, and those judges agreed with me, and that's why Mr. DeLay's prosecution went forward, not backwards. People there to call out what's going on. You've got to have stand-up judges. This is not a job for someone who wants to be a potted plant. I think you can sort of tell I'm not really potted plant. So I'm going up and down this corridor. You're going to see me lots. One of the things we're going to do, because I'm a cyclist, and I drove from Bell County and I saw all the cyclists, and I said, well, I'm going to have fun today, not cycling. We're going to do the Tour de Henson. We're going to cycle in our 24 counties, not all of them, but several of them. And of course, our theme this year is guts to spare and the record to prove it. We got shirts back there incentive